Shalom, Wabaraka, Mispaka, peace and blessings, family. This video is simply a rebuttal video because somebody targeted me in a video directly. When people make videos about the land, talking about it's not in North America, I have no problem with it. I don't argue with people over the land unless they target me specifically. If you target me specifically and my scholarship and my research, guess what? I'm gonna target you back. I'm gonna disprove everything that you just said. So there's this brother by the name of Ravenous Bird, okay, and he moved to Israel. He currently lives in fake Israel right now. So naturally, obviously, he'll have a problem with me saying that our land is really on this continent. And that's understandable. However, what's not understandable is the childish remarks and name calling that persist all throughout the video, as well as the misinterpretation of scripture to fit his own narrative. Therefore, I have to dismantle his video with this rebuttal. He simply took a screenshot of my video entitled "Undeniable Proof That Our Land is in North America, Middle East Destroyed," with two scriptures, all right? However, he obviously did not watch the video because he simply focused on the thumbnail of the video and tried to simply debunk the thumbnail instead of actually debunking my video. And in fact, his entire video is simply based off of my thumbnail and not on any of the information in the actual video. If you were to watch the video, you would know that our land is really in North America because like the video is called "Undeniable Proof." You didn't look at that, you just looked at the thumbnail. When I made the thumbnail really doesn't have anything to do with the video. You watch the video, you would see why our land is really over here. So, with that being said, let's continue.
It's sad to see many of my own people falling for this nonsense. So let me briefly address it here in this video and kill it. Actually, the word murder would be more appropriate since that is what I'm about to do to this monkey's theory. You can murder this ignorance with just one verse from the Bible. But I'm going to use three scriptures. We'll do the translation. First word, wa yasai, from the root na, sa, and ra, which means to travel or to journey. Second word is abram, proper noun, which is the subject of the verb. Third word is haloch, from the root ha, la, and cha. This is an infinitive absolute, which means going on or continuing to go. The fourth word, wa nasoi. This is another infinitive absolute. The same root of this infinitive is at the beginning of this sentence. This word is prefixed with a wa, which is simply the conjunction and the infinitive absolute means journeying. Wa nasoi, and journeying. Fifth word is ha nagaba. This is simply the noun nagab, which means south. It has a definite article prefix and a ha as the suffix as a directional. This word means towards the south. Towards the south. So the proper and literal translation of this verse would be, and Abram journeyed, continuing to go, and journeying towards the south.
Actually, halak, or haluch, as he calls it, just simply means to walk or to go. It does not mean to continue. All right.
Verb. Third word is haloch, from the root ha, la, and cha. This is an infinitive absolute, which means going on or continuing to go, or continuing to go, or continuing to go, or continuing to go.
He literally just made that up. He knows it doesn't mean to continue. He literally just made it up. Also, the word nasa appears twice in there, and it just means to journey. The scripture would have originally said, Abram journeyed, walking and journeying toward the south. There was no continuing in that scripture.
This chapter of Genesis tells us how Abram and his family moved from their homeland to Haran, which is located on the eastern side of the Euphrates River. That's verses 1 to 4. In verses 5 to 8, we read how Abram left Haran and came to the land of Canaan and journeyed to Beth-al, otherwise known as Bethel. What verse 9, however, is telling us is that he had been moving this whole time in a southward direction from Haran to Beth-al. And when he left Beth-al, he continued moving in the direction of south. In other words, Beth-al in the Holy Land is south of Haran, and that means the Holy Land is south of Haran. This conclusion is simply based on the grammar of Genesis 12 and 9. There is no way around this conclusion, no way at all.
So he said that his conclusion is simply based off of the grammar of that scripture, the grammar that you created, a grammar that does not actually exist. The word continuing does not appear in that text at all.
Now, if you look at this monkey's map, and I hate to be insulting, but I just can't help it, whoever made this map was using crayons and Elmer's glue. They have the Mississippi River as the true location of the Euphrates River. They have Haran east of the river, which is true, it should be east, but the land of Canaan, which is the Holy Land, they have it on the western side of the continent. This map has the Holy Land west of Haran when it's supposed to be south of Haran. This is more than just a cut. This is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This scripture alone does not show, too much solid proof that Haran was simply north of our land. In fact, there's more scriptural evidence that points toward Haran being east of our land.
A quick word about the cardinal points east, west, north, and south. Whenever you come across people who actually believe this map, made by Patrick Starr, is factual, you very quickly realize the person you are talking to is not dealing with a full deck. Because they will actually say things like north is really south, south is really north, east is really west, west is really east.
Actually, I never said that. Okay, so the brother said that there is no proof that the land of Haran was east of the land of Canaan. I'm going to show you that the land of Haran is indeed east of Canaan, and scripture does prove it within 3 different chapters. I'm going to show you. So he doesn't like to use the King James. Okay, so I'm not going to use the King James. I'm going to use a Hebrew version called TS 2009. All right. We're going to start at Genesis 27, verse 43. It says, "And now, my son, listen to my voice and arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran." All right. So this is Rebekah telling Jacob, leave this place, leave Canaan, and go to my brother Laban, who lives in Haran. All right. Now this is the next chapter, Genesis 28. This is his dad talking to him now. "Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother." Okay, so now Isaac is telling Jacob to go to Padan Aram, but then Rebekah just tell him to go to Haran. Apparently, Haran is just a part of Padan Aram. It's just a part of it. Haran is a specific place in Padan Aram. In the next chapter, Genesis 29, "And Yaakov moved and came to the land of the people of the east." So Jacob went to Padan Aram. He went to Padan Aram just like they told him to go. And Padan Aram is the people of the east. So he went to Padan Aram like his parents told him. And Padan Aram is the land of the people of the east. Look at this. Verse 4 says, "And Yaakov said unto them, My brothers, where are you from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." Haran is a part of Padan Aram, Okay, and that whole area is the land of the people of the east. No scripture indicates that Haran was north of our land. The most clear evidence is what we can find in this chapter when it says he went to the land of the people of the east. His mother told him to go to Haran. His dad told him to go to Padan Aram, but that is the same central region where Laban lived, and that's the land of the people of the east. Do you see this? Do you see this? And it says, we are from Haran. How is this hard to understand? No scripture says that Haran is north of our land. Again, that's another way you can prove that the Middle Eastern model does not make sense at all.
The second scripture is from Genesis chapter 13, verses 1 to 4. And Abram went up out of Mitzrayim, he, his wife, and everything he had, and Lot with him, towards the south. And Abram is very heavy in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south, even until Beth-el, until the place which was there his tent at the beginning, between Beth-el and between Hai, to the place of the altar which he made there in the first. And Abram called there on the name Yahweh. Just to back up real quick, in chapter 12, we saw that Abram was journeying south from Haran to the Holy Land, and that once he got to Beth-el, he set up an altar where he called upon the name Yahweh. This is in verse 8 of chapter 12. Then verse 9 shows Abram leaving Beth-el and continuing to go further south into the southern part of the Holy Land. While he was there, verse 10 tells us there was a great famine, and Abram went down into Mitzrayim to live. V'ya'e rai ba'aratz v'yared Abram Mitzrayma lagor sham. Chechabad harai ba'aratz. And it came to pass, there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Mitzrayim to live there. For heavy is the famine in the land. There is not the slightest suggestion that Abram changed the course of his movement to a different direction. He was in the Negab, which is the southern part of Canaan. Then the famine occurred, and he went down into Mitzrayim. He is still moving southward. So we know from this that ancient Mitzrayim is located south of the Holy Land. Now, when it came time for Abram to leave Mitzrayim, chapter 13 and verse 1 tells us that he went up into the Negab, into the southern part of the Holy Land. To go up means to go northward. And this proves again that the southern part of Canaan is north of Mitzrayim. Although this map does show that Mitzrayim, or Mizraim as they choose to call it, which is the Jewish pronunciation, Mitzrayim is south of Canaan. But according to the details of Genesis chapter 12, Haran is supposed to be located north of Canaan. The Patrick Star map has Haran east of Canaan at opposite ends of the North American continent. This is not a finger cut. This is a decapitation of the head by the guillotine.
Okay, right here you just wasted a whole bunch of time by saying something I 100% agree with. Yes, Egypt is south of Canaan. I never said it wasn't. But one thing that I do not agree with is he said going up means going north. Whenever somebody says go up into a place or go down into a place in scripture, that's talking about elevation. It's not talking about north, east, south, and west. Because you don't see anybody saying go left somewhere or go right somewhere, indicating west and east. But you do see going up and going down. The reason being is because when you're going into the mountains or into the hills, you're going up. When you're going down in the valley or down by the sea, you're going down. That's up and down. It's about elevation. If you don't know this, you basically don't know anything about Hebrew cardinal directions or anything about the Hebraic directional perspective.
Now for the third scripture and the final witness that will bring eternal death to the Patrick Star monkey map. We are going to be looking at Yoram Yahweh, otherwise known as Jeremiah chapter 46 and verse 10. Che zabach la'adonai Yahweh Sabaoth ba'aretz sapon al-nar parath, for a sacrifice unto the Lord Yahweh of hosts is in the land of the north to the river Euphrates. Chezabak la'adonai Yahweh Tsabaoth ba'aret sapon al-nar parath. This chapter by the prophet Yirmiyahu in the 6th century BC, before the destruction of the southern kingdom, was written by him when he was in the Holy Land. He was literally standing in the kingdom of Yahudah, otherwise known as Judah. This verse clearly states that the Euphrates River is located to the north of where he was standing when he wrote this chapter. The Euphrates River, according to this verse, is in the land north of the Holy Land. If you look at the Patrick Star map, is the Euphrates River north of the land of Canaan? No. This monkey map has the Euphrates located to the south and east of Canaan. This map is a joke. Anyone taking it seriously needs to go back and redo high school, assuming they ever finished high school.
Now, this right here is what appears to be the only logical rebuttal that he came up with. All right, the only logical point that he has made so far. Okay, yes, the Euphrates River does have a boundary that is north of our land. All right, you have to read this chapter. This chapter is talking about the Egyptians and the Babylonians engaged in battle. And the Egyptians went up into the land of Babylon and made battle by the river Euphrates. And 2 videos that I made, the videos on the screen now, those 2 videos, I've stated that the Euphrates River flows all the way through the land of Babylon, all the way north, even into the Arctic Ocean, because you got to understand, the Mississippi River connects with the St. Lawrence River. The St. Lawrence River goes all the way up into the Arctic Ocean. It goes directly north. The whole river is a north and south flowing river. It goes up and down. All right. So the Euphrates River, a part of the Euphrates River is east, a part of the Euphrates River is north. So when the Egyptians went into the land of Babylon, they went to the northern part of the Euphrates River, which is the part of the Euphrates River that flows through Babylon. Now, the map that appears in this video is an old map, and there's one error in the map. I have Babylon listed near Massachusetts and New York, that general region, but Babylon should be a little bit more north in Canada. Although Babylon did stretch south into Massachusetts and New York and that area of New England, the main center of Babylon was in Quebec of Canada. And I've shown you that in my video, the true ancient land of Babylon is in Canada. And I've shown mathematical proof, I've shown historical, archaeological proof, I've shown scriptural prophetic proof of how Canada, Eastern Canada, is indeed the true land of Babylon. And the Euphrates River goes through there as well. So, also on this map, I did not highlight this St. Lawrence River. I should have, but it was just a simple mistake. I should have highlighted the St. Lawrence River to show how the St. Lawrence River connects to the Mississippi River, making the Euphrates River go completely from north to south, connecting the Arctic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. So, with that being said, you just simply did not understand the American model. Therefore, you came to a vain conclusion. But there is a lot of substantial evidence within our scriptures that basically say that the Euphrates River is indeed east of our land. Like whenever scripture says from the Great Sea to the river Euphrates, that's from the west to the east. That's common sense. But let's get into even more literal sense of scripture saying that the Euphrates is east of our land. Look at 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 9. You will see that the children of Reuben were a tribe of cattle, right? but their cattle multiplied so much in their territory that they had to stretch all the way to the river Euphrates, because in their territory their cattle multiplied too much. All right, so their territory had to stretch all the way to the river Euphrates, but it said it stretched eastward. All right, eastward to the river Euphrates. So that's common sense that the river Euphrates is indeed toward the east and to the north of our land. So I mean, that should not even be an argument. Even in the Middle Eastern model, the river Euphrates is indeed east as well as north. So I don't even know why this is an argument. But one thing wrong with the Middle Eastern model is because, look, this was a tribe of cattle. Reuben was a tribe of cattle. Cows have to eat grass. Grass is a plant, all right? But that area in the Middle East that stretches from where Reuben would have been all the way to the river Euphrates from west to east, from Gilead to the river Euphrates, is pure desert. I like to call it the dry triangle. That's what I like to call it. It's a 93 million square mile piece of land where not one single plant grows. No way possible cattle could have inhabited that area in biblical times, because it would have died off. It's a complete desert. There's nothing there but sand. All right. So with that being said, this scripture fits perfectly with the American model, because the cattle would have inhabited the Great Plains and they would have a lot of grass to eat. And the Great Plains does have a little bit of desert. It has a little desert piece in the Great Plains called the Great American Desert. But that makes sense because scripture does say the entering of the wilderness unto the great Euphrates. Entering of the wilderness means it's just a little small part of the desert. Wilderness in our scripture means desert. So with that being said, it was a desert, but it was a desert that was sustainable enough to have cattle, meaning it was not a complete desert. It still had plants that grew, although it is susceptible to dust storms. You know, that's why we had the Great Dust Bowl, stuff like that. But you have to understand that the North American bison, which is a wild cattle species of North America, where did they inhabit? The Great Plains, all right? So it has a lot of similarities with what the scripture is talking about. But let's be 100% honest here. When it comes to the river Euphrates, you cannot possibly claim the Middle East to be our land, because the river Euphrates in the Middle East fits biblical description pretty much very little. The reason I say that is because 2 Kings 24:7 state that the Babylonians completely took Egypt. They conquered Egypt, and they conquered all the region from the river Euphrates all the way to the Egyptian river, all right? And it said all the land that belonged to Egypt, all the land that belonged to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Okay, so all the land from the river Euphrates to the river of Egypt belonged to Egypt, right? That's what this scripture says. However, when you look in the Middle East, all the land in between the Euphrates and the river of Egypt, aka the Nile, all of that does not belong to Egypt. It belonged to us, if that was our land. So that does not make sense. It completely proves itself wrong. There's no way the Middle East could possibly be our land, because it does not fit what the Bible is talking about at all. By supporting my channel through patreon.com, you are aiding in the progress and production of these videos. You are also helping me raise the funds to launch official archaeological excavations throughout North America to uncover more true Hebrew artifacts and remains in this land. You will also see exclusive content that you will find nowhere else. If you like to build your ruach or your spirit, you must like to build your health as well. Check out our website, J&R Eden Herbs, for all your holistic needs. We have over 100 quality products that include supplements, teas, soaps, incenses, tonics, and more at very affordable prices. Click our link in the description to heal yourself today.